Hey YouTube, this is Yirmiyahu Weeps. Might be a short video. I am just going to be going into a little bit of how I would advise to read scripture, read the separate writings, what people commonly call the Bible. Okay, first you've got to start off with knowing that you're at a disadvantage. Um, Whoever you are, really, you are at a disadvantage. Unless you speak Hebrew, and, well, even if you speak Hebrew, well, okay, I'll just start with the Hebrew speakers. Even if you speak Hebrew, you're at a disadvantage because of the world that you live in and because of traditions that you've inherited, traditions of men, and because even if you speak Hebrew and you can understand the Tanakh in Hebrew, what people call the Old Testament, then when you get to the Brit Hadashah, what people call the New Covenant or New Testament, that the only copies that they have are in Greek. I personally don't believe that it was originally written in Greek. I believe that it was originally written in Hebrew and then translated into Aramaic and then translated into Greek. Possibly translated from Hebrew to Greek, but it's my guess that there was a language in between. So you're at a disadvantage because there's no. I don't believe that there are any remaining copies of the actual Hebrew Brit Hadashah around today. So you're at a disadvantage because of and most people don't know Hebrew, so they're at an extra disadvantage because they're not able to just read the Hebrew text and see what it says. And there's all kinds of man-made insertions and distortions, as far as like the name of Yahweh. They took the name of Yahweh out almost 7,000 times, probably a full 7,000 times, and replaced it with a word that does not mean Yahweh, because Yahweh does not mean Lord, but that's what they replaced it with a lot of times. And the word God, I don't think, is a very accurate. Well, it's not. The English, if you translated Elohim into English, from my understanding, it would be powerful authority. Or actually, it would be either powerful authorities or extremely powerful authority. Since it's plural, and my understanding is the plural either means plural of quality or quantity, it's talking about that powerful authority. So that's just one example of how it's been mistranslated. And I know that there are verses like the Catholic Church in the Brit Hadashah. The Catholic Church claims that they have distorted some verses. Not a ton, but some. So we're at a disadvantage. You have to know going in that you are at a disadvantage, and so I highly advise when you realize that you're at this disadvantage, that you ask Yahweh, ask the Father, to reveal to you what He wants you to know, and I think that He will in time. It seems to be that He reveals His truths progressively. You get more truth the further you go with Him, the deeper you go in relationship with Him. So I highly advise doing that, realizing that you're at a disadvantage, and praying to the Father to reveal to Him the truths that He wants you to know. So if you start there, then the next thing I advise is to start at the beginning of the book. You start in the Torah. And start in the first book, the Bereshit, commonly known as Genesis, but Genesis is I think it might be Greek, but to me, it's a Hebrew text, so why not just translate it from the Hebrew into English if you're an English-speaking person? I mean, if you speak Greek, that's your language, then awesome, Bereshit to Genesis, yeah, that would make sense. But if you're not Greek, if you're an English-speaking person like me, then it would make sense to translate the Hebrew into English, which hasn't happened. So that's where I highly advise you starting, and knowing while you're reading that there are words that are mistranslated. So if you really want to know the text and stuff, I highly advise that you study it. That you study to see what words mean. There are sometimes there's words that you think that that it's translated accurately, and it's not. So it can be kind of a hassle, but it can be very worthwhile too, especially if you love the Creator, if He's calling you to understand His text. So yeah, I'd start in Bereshit and go on from Bereshit to Shemot or Exodus, from Shemot to Wayikra or Leviticus, and Leviticus can be, it seemed to me for a longest time it was very difficult to read, because of like all the rules and regulations, and a lot of them didn't seem to apply to me. But it seems like that's almost like a holy of holies, that in like the Torah code, that there's code in the Hebrew language, that there's letter sequencing and stuff, and Torah, they find the word Torah all over the place, written forwards, and in Bereshit and Shemot, in Genesis and Exodus, and then in Numbers and Deuteronomy, Bamidbar and Devarim, they find Torah written going the other direction. So it's like they're pointing to Wayikra, they're pointing to Leviticus. So Leviticus seems to be the central book, and it's almost like the Holy of Holies. So it seems to be like it's almost like Yahweh has hidden his Holy of Holies from people, for you have to like really love him to get to it, and then even if you get to it, he has to reveal it to you, and you have to really love him, to understand and to have an accurate understanding of the depths that are in Wayikra, because I know they're there. I haven't discovered all of them yet, not by a long shot, but I know they're there. I just haven't gotten to them yet. So, I'm trusting that the Creator, when He sees fit, He'll bring me to them. But as of right now, I'm not there yet. But so I would go from Bereshit, Genesis, to Shemot, Exodus, to Wayikra, Leviticus, to Bamidbar, Numbers, and to Devarim, Deuteronomy. So I would just go through there, and then once you're done with the Torah and you feel like you have a good grounding in the Torah and you understand the Torah pretty well, I would really familiarize yourself with the Torah before going any further, because that's the starting place. Because the rest of it just almost doesn't even make sense unless you start there. So those 5 books, and really familiarize yourself with those 5 books. Then I would go on to the Nebaim, what they call the prophets, but it's really those who pour forth, and those who pour forth the message of Yahweh. And the Nebaim starts in Yoshua, and then goes on to Shoftim. And Yoshua, commonly known as Joshua, and Shoftim, commonly known as judges, really means rulers. And then Melachim, which is kings, and Shemuel, which means it's Samuel. Those books. So, and I would keep on going. Then eventually I would get to the writings. The Ketubim, the like Job or Job, and Mishlei or Proverbs, and Tehillim or Psalms, and there's a few other ones. Oh shoot, what are the other ones? Oh, the Kohelet. That's the book I love. Ecclesiastes. Love that book. Love that book. Anyways, yeah, and there's Daniel is in there. He's with the writings. So all of the writings. So after you go through all the Nebaim, those who pour forth the prophets, then you could go to the writings. After you're done with the writings, and you familiarize yourself with the Torah, you're very familiar with the Torah, you familiarize yourself with the Nebaim or the prophets, very familiar with all that, and you familiarize yourself with the writings, you know what's going on with the writings. Then you're ready for the Brit Hadashah, you're ready for the, can't remember what it's called, the Good News, I can't remember the term for it, but the stories of Yoshua HaMashiach. There's the 4 books, so you go through those, and once you're done with those, you go to I can't remember the right term for it, but it's Acts of the emissaries, basically. Once you're done with the Acts of the emissaries, then you go on to like Yaakov or James, and Yehuda or Jude, and Aben or Peter. You go through all of those letters. And then once you're done with those, you go on to Ibrim or Hebrews. And then once you've really familiarized yourself with, after you familiarize yourself with the Good News books, the 4 Good News books, and you've really familiarized yourself with Peter, Aben and Yehuda and Jacob, Peter and James and Jude and those, Oh, and Yochanan. I can't forget about Yochanan. Then you can go on to Shaul or Paul, and because it even says, like Aben even says that he's got the complicated writings, and those who don't have understanding will distort them, and won't get it. You know, they'll make it try to mean something it doesn't, because he's got complicated writings. He was a brilliant guy, from my understanding. And he's got a lot of stuff that makes sense, but it can be very complicated. And like, okay, here's an example. The Greek word, I think it's nomos, means law. In the Brit Hadashah, the new covenant, it can be referring to either Yahweh's law or man's law. Yahweh's instructions or man's law. And it doesn't always differentiate. So you have to know the context and you have to know what's going on. Then with Shaul, sometimes he's talking about the laws in the Torah, and sometimes he's talking about the law of, say, the law of sin and death, which is not the same thing as the Torah. Two different things. And I think he may even have another law in there. So you have to understand the context and know what he's talking about. With his writings, it's really, really helpful to do study and see what's going on with those. Because his can be easily misconstrued, easily misunderstood, easily just kind of butchered. I mean, I've seen that happen all over the place, and if you want, you can leave the revealing, the revelation, until the end, or you can just include it with Yochanan's letters, because he's got his good news book, and then he's got his several letters, and then he's got his message of the revealing, revelation. So that's how I would advise doing it. And if you can, I mean, I'm so sorry, because I from my studies, I've seen that we're all at a disadvantage, very badly disadvantaged, in that there's almost no good translations out there. Almost none of them use Yahweh, and like the King James is just terrible. Okay, for one thing, it starts off with Old English, so it's starting off with English that's 400 years old. Which, why you want to complicate an already complicated text that's been messed with by people, so there are false verses in it, and mistranslated verses, and then there's all kinds of mistranslated words. So why would you want to bother with an archaic English text? I don't understand that. But I guess you can if you want, but that's just my take. But I know that it has, like, the KJV has a lot of mistranslated words in it. It has a lot of erroneous verses in it. So I would recommend. Oh man, I don't know any good translations. That's why I try and work on it myself, because I don't trust translations. From studying, I found that I don't know of a good translation. Now, if there are a couple, there's one that I would really love if they finished it. I don't think they have, but it's called the Transparent English Bible. And what they do is they take, they try to, and there's also Jeff Benner, who's got AncientHebrew.org. He's got the mechanical version, and he's got like Bereshit, Genesis, and Shemot, Exodus. He's done those two books, I believe. And his is decent and worthwhile and good to check out. But the Transparent English Bible is one that I would do. They seem to take a lot of words and actually show you the Hebrew, and then kind of go into, it's more than just a straight reading. It kind of goes into the text a little bit, so you can actually see what's going on as far as like the translation and stuff. So I think that's very helpful. Yeah, but that's what I do. Ground yourself in the Torah, then go on to the Nebaim prophets, then go on to the Ketubim, the writings. Then once you've mastered those, go on to the Brit Hadashah, go on to the Four Good News. Then when you've mastered those, go on to Acts, and when you mastered Acts, go on to like Yochanan, John, Aben, Peter, and Yehuda, Jude, and Jacob, James. After you master those, go on to Ibrahim or Hebrews, and then after you mastered that, go on to Shaul. That's how I would advise doing it. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if I'm leaving anything out. Oh, but yeah, definitely. Know that you're at a disadvantage going in when you start reading. You are at a disadvantage. We all are. And ask for trust. Ask for trust and trust the Creator. He does love you. He loves you. He loves you. He loves you. He loves you. Extremely important. Trying to think of forgetting anything. Shoot. Yeah, that's everything I can think of. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And if you're not able to like just get it, be patient with yourself. Your Creator is very patient with everybody. Everybody. He's very patient. He's not concerned about time. Time doesn't, I don't think time's an issue for him. But yeah, just trust. Know that you're at a disadvantage going in, and that, but He can help you. He can overcome those disadvantages in you. He can do it. So, yep. Okay. Sorry, I feel like there's probably things that I want to be remembering to add on to this, but I can't think of what they are. So I hope this is helpful. If I can think of anything else, I will add it on in the notes. Or if I think of a ton, I'll make another video, I guess. But I think that should do it. So hope that is helpful. That's my understanding. That's how I advise going into it, going into reading the text, because it's very deep, very complex. There's a lot there. I mean, I feel like I've just scratched the surface, and there's so much there. It goes so deep, so deep. But it's okay, because if you're not able to just grasp it, if you're not able to get it, if you get frustrated, know that you are connected to the source. You're connected to the author, Yahweh. He has you in His hands. He loves you incredibly much. He's watching over you. He knows everything that's going on in your life. He loves you so passionately, and He knows everything, every last little detail. And that's the way He feels about you, loving you so passionately. So if you're connected with Him, you don't have to worry too much about if there's stuff you don't get in the text, because He can reveal it to you in His own good time. And so it's going to be okay. But that's how I would go about trying to understand the text and read the text. Is that's what I would advise. Start at Bereshit. Start at the first verse. Go from there. So Yahweh bless you, and have a very good day. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you later if you watch another video. Have a good life. Thanks. Yirmiyahu Weeps. Shalom. Bye.